All right, welcome back to the show. It is Wolf and Luke on a Friday afternoon, and we are pleased to be joined right now on the Arizona Sports Line by ESPN NBA front office insider Bobby Marks. Bobby, thank you for the time. How's it going?
I'm good, guys. How you doing?
Doing well, Bobby.
Doing pretty good. I admittedly encouraged by what we've seen from the Suns specifically this week. So I guess I'll just go back to the Denver game for a second.
Yeah.
What do you take out of that? I know it's 1 of 82, but it is against the defending champs.
It's kind of, I know that Phoenix is going to make the playoffs somewhere, whatever seed they're going to be. It felt like it was almost like a season saving in that perspective, just because they have not been very good in the fourth quarters, as you guys know. They blew a big lead. They couldn't make a shot. And really neither team could at the end of the game. Durant gets cold, and then all of a sudden hits the three to tie it, and then just explodes in overtime. And then, you pick up the win against Toronto, and you have, let's face it, you got a really tough schedule coming with Boston twice, I think, and then Milwaukee over the next 5 games here. So it saves you just because of how bunched up teams are, whether you look at Sacramento right behind you, Dallas right behind you. The goal is to get into that top 6 somewhere, whether it be 5 or 6. I don't think you can get to 4. That's going to be hard. You're going to really have to string some games, but I just thought it was a kind of a season saving. And then I think the Toronto game, you had, especially with Book out, I think your role players, right? Whether it be, Grayson Allen or Royce O'Neale, guys that you need to rely on outside of Kevin and Bradley.
Bobby, what is your take when you watch Grayson Allen right now and what Grayson Allen is doing in the association? What is your take on him, and what kind of money is he making for himself?
Yeah, whenever I watch it, it feels like he gets expensive each night. It's ironic.
Yes.
Like when you look back at the trade, the Ayton Nurkic, the big trade with Holiday, all that stuff. Outside of Holiday, certainly Dame is involved. Grayson Allen's probably the 3rd best player out of that group. And he's been one of the most consistent players, just from availability standpoint, and what he's been able to do. And he's going to be expensive. What's expensive? Is it $16 million? Is it $17 million? That's probably what you're looking at. And then, there's the luxury tax component. And, my colleague Ramona Shelburne wrote a great article about, she had talked to, Matt Ishbia, the Suns owner, and listen, they're fully aware of what's happening here. They're fully aware of the new CBA and the impact and stuff like that, but they're all in, man. And I think you appreciate they're all in with when they did the Beal trade and the cost that's going to come with it. And the goal is you have to retain your own free agents, whether it be Grayson Allen or Royce O'Neale, even, if it's going to be expensive, because the alternative is that all of a sudden now we're just replacing them with guys on veteran minimum contracts, right? Now your safety net is a lot looser here. But he is going to be expensive. There will be a market for him, but I do think, I think Phoenix is willing to retain him unless, things get really out of control. And what's out of control in the 20s? I don't think it's going to get that high.
We're talking to Bobby Marks. Yeah, I saw your post on X about that too, about Royce O'Neale and Grayson Allen being so important beyond this year. With O'Neale, are you surprised at all how just it's almost been seamless? He stepped in, and within his first couple games, it looked like he had been here for 2 years.
No, just because I watched a lot of these Nets games when he was there over the last, year and a half, and I thought he was really good in Brooklyn. That's they had a lot of those 6'8" guys with him and Finney Smith and Bridges and Cam Johnson. I thought he shot the ball really well in Brooklyn here, and he's a pro's pro. He's been in a lot of big games, certainly going back to his days in with Utah, with Mitchell and Gobert there. And that's as you guys know, that's the hard part. Midseason trades are really, really hard as far as getting a player that can integrate well on the court, also integrate well within your locker room.
So, Bobby, if you had a choice, point Book or point Beal, which way would you go on that?
I would probably go point Beal, just because I would want to. Running the show, I think, takes a little bit out of you. I would want Devin as fresh as he could if he's playing 40 minutes a night. As fresh as it gets when we get down to money time. That's probably what I would probably lean towards a little bit more.
Talking to Bobby Marks. Bobby, Yusuf Nurkic has been kind of, maybe not under the radar, but he's been very helpful to the Suns this year. And we saw the other night what he might be able to do against Denver. How pivotal do you think he is in a 7-game series for this team?
Oh, huge. I mean, you watched Denver last night against Boston, and basically any night, and Jokic can do whatever he wants. I thought Phoenix figured out a little bit something with, if they do have to play Denver down the road, and to beat them, you basically need Jokic to start spraying the ball around. I mean, 7 turnovers, which is, I think, a season high for him. I felt like he was a little bit uncomfortable with Nurkic. You know, he's not going to be stopped. But if you can get him to turn the ball over a little bit here and force some shots, you've got a chance in that series. And, yeah, I mean, it's not going to be, Durant guarding him for 40 minutes like we saw, Porzingis last night towards the end of the game here. I think you do need a big body to kind of lean on him, make him tired here, and I thought he did a really good job the other night.
For me, Bobby, just watching Yusuf Nurkic, watching him all season long, it seems like with each passing game now, he's getting more and more physical. Do you see a different Nurk at all? Do you see him developing into that role for the Phoenix Suns?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you've got your 3 main guys, and now everyone is a role, finds a role, right? Whether it be, if you're using a hockey analogy, a guy that can, put a guy into the boards here. And, he has 14 rebounds last night against Toronto. I said, they said he played really well, I thought, against Denver, and the playoffs are just a different animal. A lot of it's going to be based on matchups. You might not see him on the court if you're playing a different team, but I think how the West is, whether it be Minnesota with Gobert, with Lakers, with Davis, with certainly with Oklahoma City would be interesting with Holmgren as far as stretching the floor a little bit. Clippers too. That he's going to be as important as some of these other players on the roster.
Bobby, there's games where this Suns team looks like they have major problems, and then there's times where they look like they could beat anybody. We're 63 games in. I don't think I even know what their ceiling is yet. Do you?
It's funny. There are games when I'm watching this team play beautiful basketball, and I'm saying, the apron. Who cares about the apron? Who cares about having 3 guys making 150? They'll just figure it out. And then the hard part, and you guys, the hard part is 82 games, man. 82 games is a grind, and it's like if you're nobody, and not everyone can be, I guess, Boston and win 49-14 and things looking pretty, but still they've got some warts. I think here. I think. No, do I know who they are? Some nights I do, some nights I don't. But the end goal is to get into the top 6 here in the Western Conference and get in there in one piece, right? And then figure out who it's going to be, whether it be Oklahoma City or Minnesota or the Clips in the first round, and go from there.
Bobby, of the teams that you see in the top 6 in the Western Conference, who do you think is the biggest X factor? Is it the Phoenix Suns?
Zach Lowe and I did a pod earlier this morning, and he asked, that was a question. I do. I just think they're the wild card because they have 3 guys that can close. Right. You need closers in the playoffs, and certainly the Clippers do, and Denver does, and Oklahoma City does, and Minnesota does. But I think when you're Phoenix, you've got 3 of them on your roster here. When we're on the court. Now, you're going to have to go out and steal. The likelihood, if you start on the road, you're going to have to steal a game, as far as to win a series here. And I think these, Durant and Booker have shown they can. So that's the reason why you went out and got them here, is because it wasn't because you were going to be 60-22 and cruise to the number 1 seed. It was going to, when things got tough, you had these 2 guys to go out and win games on the road in the playoffs.
Yep.
Bobby, we appreciate the time,
Bobby,
as always.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good Friday.
You too.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.